Hello, welcome to Forest Focus. Another game against Bournemouth, another disappointing defeat, this time 2-0, and it was all pretty comfortable for the home side as Sean Dyche was beaten in his first Premier League game in charge of the Reds. So we'll discuss it all. We'll break down the game in full, and then we'll look at the big picture if people can bear to see the league table on their phones if they're watching this live. Mark Sutherns, how you doing?
Yeah, been here before, haven't we? Another disappointing display and result at Bournemouth. But yeah, I'm trying to find some positives, but struggling at the moment.
Yeah, it was. It was a bad day. Certainly was a bad day. But we'll talk about the big picture in the end and see how people see it. See how you guys are feeling. See how the chat's feeling. Chris Aylmer, how you doing?
Yeah, disappointed as well, as Mark said. Very, very unhappy, particularly the first half performance today. We're in a bit of a hole at the moment, so it just feels tough. But we've been here before. Hopefully, we'll get out of it.
Mark, kick us off with wider general thoughts, and then we'll go into all the notes that I made on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we saw the team sheet on Thursday, and when we saw people like Callum and Louise, Gibbs-White play almost 90 minutes. I think Louis got 85, didn't he? I was a little worried because I was thinking, well, we're going to come up against probably the most intense side in the Premier League on Sunday, and we struggled to deal with that last time. And now we've got obviously Thursday fixtures on top of that. I was a little worried that conditioning would mean we wouldn't be able to cope. And I think first half that showed, and he made changes at half time, which kind of admitted, to me, that admitted that the 11 he put out weren't coping physically. And I've listened to him post-match, and he's picked that out first of all as the physicality of it. Well, it was kind of predictable. And the one thing I hope that we've taken from this is we cannot play a full strength side on Thursday and then expect to be competing on a level playing field on a Sunday, right? It's going to take energy out of the legs, and players like Louis and Callum Hudson-Odoi for certain don't strike me as players that can play, nearly 90 minutes on Thursday and then give all on a Sunday, right? Particularly against a team like Bournemouth. So the first thing that I took from that was we didn't cope with them physically. Not many teams do, but when you've played on a Thursday, it's even more difficult, obviously. And then the second thought is we created so little again. That is the concern. Statistically, we've scored 2 goals in the last 8 games. That's 5 lower than any other team. And I looked at it today and thought, well, what did we actually create? We had 2 long-range efforts from Nico and Gibbs-White that brought saves, and that was about it, really. We didn't really have any craft. You had no delivery from out wide. Doesn't matter how well your centre-forward plays. If that centre-forward needs service, which is, we've got Jesus, Wood and Iwanyi, that they don't create goals out of nothing, those 3. You need service, and the wide players didn't really give any service. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really testament to the fact that I don't think we can play full strength Thursday and then expect that team to play again on Sunday. And the big concern for me is that we're not creating enough.
Yeah, I agree. But especially the team selection. Let's go back to team selection then, Chris. On the preview show, Kelv was on, and Kelv said there's absolutely no way Louise plays, and he thought Callum wouldn't play either. I mean, I don't think you can pin it on Dyche today, apart from I do think the team selection feels like an error. Were you surprised that those guys played or not?
I was a little surprised that it was, almost the same 11, except for Savona. But obviously he's trying to carry the confidence over a little bit, and maybe he had a plan in his head to take off Louise and Hudson-Odoi at some stage, and maybe he's just trying to carry that confidence into the game. For me, Louise started reasonably well in the first 5 minutes, and then after that it kind of went to pot. But I wasn't, the team selection wasn't the ultimate thing for me today. I don't think sticking Yates or Dominguez straight in would have made a difference in today's game. It just felt like Bournemouth had the intensity on us and the jump from us from the beginning, and that midfield of Louis, Anderson and Gibbs-White, even if they're a little bit tired or lagging, they should be able to compete with Scott, Adams and whoever else they had in the midfield. So that was my thing. It was the midfield battle we lost. And in terms of team selection, I was kind of okay with it. I know he wanted to carry some confidence in, and we had players to come off the bench for energy. So personally, I was fine with it.
I think a lot of people online were happy with the team selection. Like I said, I thought the other guys should have played. That said, Mark, I think Chris is right. Do we have a right as fans to expect players to win more physical battles than that? Because it wasn't just midfield. It was all over the pitch, bar probably the fullback. So I thought came out of it with credit. But everyone else, it felt like lost all their duels today. Obviously not all of them, that'd be ridiculous. But I don't think anyone won an individual battle today, did they, against their opposite number?
No, possibly not. But like I say, it is going to take it out of you if you're playing on Thursday and the team you're playing against isn't. They've had a full week to prepare and a full week to recover from their last game, and we haven't. So that is going to have an impact. And it's hard to judge because you're playing Bournemouth, right? And that of all the teams that you don't want to judge physicality and impact of a Thursday fixture on, it's when you go to Bournemouth. They are the most intense side. They're the ones that are in your face. They're all over you. They press very intensely, very high. They're very, very strong in duels. So I think it's wrong for us to sit here now and go, this is going to be a problem going forward, actually winning duels and so on, because we're judging it against a Bournemouth team. So it's not a fair, I don't think it's a fair example to do that. But it's a concern. I don't have concerns with our ability to compete physically going forward, because I think Dyche will get that right. I think Dyche will make sacrifices either in Europe. Well, it'll have to be in Europe as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, the priority has got to be winning points in the Premier League, not winning the Europa League, because I think we're in a bit of trouble the way that the promoted teams are playing and getting points now. We're 5 off Burnley. Fulham play Wolves next. If Fulham beat Wolves and we don't beat Manchester United, Fulham get away from us as well. And suddenly there's a 5 or 6 point gap, right? We'll look at the table later. The priority has got to be the Premier League. I don't care if we don't progress any further in the Europa League. What I care about is our Premier League status. It should be all on that. We should be playing the likes of Bakwa and we can't play Hutchinson, but we can't play Ndoye and Callum on a Thursday and then expect them to be full tilt on a Sunday. Same with Douglas Luiz. He's not going to be able to do it. We've got to make decisions and sacrifices. And for me, we've got to prioritise the Premier League. I don't think we make too much judgment from Bournemouth, but going forward, hopefully Dyche has learnt the lesson that he can't play full strength on Thursday. I understand why he did. He wanted to get the win. He wanted to get the confidence. That was probably the right thing to do. But going forward, we can't do that. We've got to prioritise the Premier League games from now on. And that means the likes of Luiz and Callum Hudson-Odoi and maybe a few others can't start on a Thursday. So we're just going to have to accept that because the Premier League has to be the priority.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose we can't forget, we said before the game, Chris, I think it was Kel's leaving message, we can't have a meltdown if we lose to Bournemouth. I think that is very much my position because Bournemouth... I mean, I know they're a smaller club than us with the stadium capacity and the history and everything, but they're a top Premier League team, whatever we think about them. And I hope people aren't going to have a meltdown. And we'll talk about the bigger picture. But how highly did you rate Bournemouth being good versus our performance being bad? Where did you put the balance today?
First half, they were really, really good, and we were really, really bad. So first half was both extremes, in my opinion. I think, losing out on individual battles and in terms of just getting overloaded. And I think, look, to be fair, I thought Savona did quite well against Semenyo first half, right? All things considered, but ultimately everywhere else in the pitch, we were just beaten out of it. So I think the two extremes in the first half were there. Second half, it was kind of, Bournemouth took a little bit of a back seat, took their foot off the gas, and we kind of grew into the game a little bit more, and we were okay second half. But ultimately, yeah, Bournemouth they're in second now, and they're flying, and this is the best start that they've had in a long time. They're kind of doing what we were doing last season, and their manager's brilliant, and they've lost loads of players, but they still look like a really, really good side, considering all the players they lost. They lost 4 of their back 5 last year. So I think it's down to their coach, and they were just really good. And I don't think, in reality, I think if we all went into today, deep down, we all knew that we were the underdogs today big time, because we're on a bad run of form. We were a bit lost. We just lost the manager, and they look like they're banging form. They're a well-oiled machine, and they know exactly what they're doing at all times. Even last week against Palace, they're 2-0 up. Palace came back in the game 2-2, and then all of a sudden Bournemouth go ahead. They're just a well-oiled machine. They're not even thinking when they're playing. They're so used to their repetitions in training and everything. So, yeah, I think it's more a case of, yeah, Bournemouth were a good team, but at the same time, it doesn't help that we're conceding from a corner going straight into the back of the net. And it doesn't help that we're losing those duels in the middle of the park and they're just breaking free. So I think it's both extremes. We were terrible and they were good.
Yeah, we'll expand on that as we go along. I mean, let's talk about the goals then in the first half, Mark. I think obviously there's a lot of contention around the first one. Was it a corner? Well, it looks like it wasn't. Was it a foul on Sells? What's your take on that?
Wasn't a corner, but very difficult to spot that deflection back off Nico Williams, and VAR can't check that decision. And I think that could have been given as a foul on Sells, but I think we've got to get a body in between Sells and Adams. I don't understand why we haven't. I mean, if they've got a player clearly on your goalkeeper, you've got to get a defender in between that. You've got to stop that from being even a thing. So let's be consistent. We criticised Ange at set pieces. That wasn't great. So whatever we've decided in terms of defending set pieces, we've decided not to protect Sells. Well, we can't carry on doing that because Sells has shown that, you know, he's a little nudge and he's disrupted totally and he's lost the path of the ball. So that shouldn't have happened because we should have defended that better. And yes, it was a mistake by Sells, but we've got to address that. We've got to protect him. So that's a basic fundamental, really. I don't think we can put it all on the decision. Yes, okay, it wasn't a corner, but it's a very, very difficult one to see. And you've got to just defend that like we defended the first two corners, but we failed, and that's got to be looked at, and we've got to address that. So disappointing goal to concede, no doubt, of course.
That Sells thing is a long-standing thing, Chris. And James Belshaw was supposed to do this show, and he couldn't because of a family illness. And Chris has kindly stepped in. But on a previous show, Belly last year pointed out Liverpool scored against us. Diogo Jota, God rest his soul, scored when Sells was pinned, and then Newcastle did it in an upcoming game. And teams are doing this against us a lot. They are. I'm sure that Sells gets no protection, and I don't know if that's him doing it or managers do it or deciding it, but it's an area of real weakness. I mean, Sells has got to be stronger there for me. What did you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you just look at Chelsea last week. He had a flimsy punch that went straight to James, and they scored from a set piece last week. Same thing. Any pressure on him, and he seems to buckle a little bit. I think he's he made a couple of really smart saves before that, so he's a good shot stopper, and his positioning is reasonably good. But in terms of corners and set pieces, he struggles. And the answer for that, I don't know what the answer is, because you probably have to get some big men on the keeper to protect him, as Mark said. Because if every single time, like when Bournemouth had those first 2 or 3 corners in the first half before that one, they went short, and I took a sigh of relief. And I thought, and most of the time they were trying to create an angle, right, to put the ball back in, and they were dangerous. They were just poor balls in, but one of them was near post, and they were trying to create an angle. I was sigh of relief, like, thank God. The moment they whip one into the box, bang, it's in the back of the net, and that just worries you. And I think you need a keeper to command his area, right? Irrespective of whether he's 6'5" or 6'2", it doesn't matter. You need a keeper to command his area. And it is a real weakness for him. And we need the big lads on him. We need the Milenkoviches. We need the big lads back there. Even when Wood's playing, put him back there. Some of the big midfielders, get them back, because Adams is tiny, and he's tapped him and half shoved him. I personally don't think it was a foul on him. I think it was a corner. It wasn't a corner either. Sorry, it definitely wasn't a corner. But as Mark said, it was tough for them to see that. That annoyed me because we knew that. But as far as foul goes, it would have been a soft one had they ruled that goal out. And yeah, Sells has looked weak now a couple of times from corners. And yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem. And I don't know what the solution is.
The trouble is, the minute some teams see that, they're just going to go for it now. So
and they are. Yeah,
Vicario had it at Spurs, and people went after Vicario then for a couple of months, and Spurs had to change that situation. So we've got to change that situation now. I expect to see Dyche counter that by putting a player in between Sells and the opponent. We've got to. So.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be your best header. I don't think it even has to be a big guy. It has to be literally anyone. In fact, it could be your worst header of the ball, because all their job has to do is stop some guy getting near Matt Sells. Because I know people are saying it was a foul. I don't think it was. If it was at the other end and it was disallowed, I'd be absolutely raging, because I didn't think it was a foul personally.
I think it could have been given. I think we've seen keepers very well protected. And to me, there's no question that the nudge does disrupt Sells, but he should be stronger. He should be pushing Adams away before the cross even comes in. He shouldn't be letting Adams get that close to him. He should be screaming for either pushing Adams away or screaming for someone to get in between.
Push him away, push him away. That's the thing.
Adams is not an imposing figure for Sells to push away. He should have been doing that.
Last season, we suddenly became reasonably good at defending set pieces, because the season before, I remember for that half a season, we were terrible at defending set pieces. So last season we were really good. What's the difference there? Like, what is it? Is it because Sells seemed reasonably assured last season. Obviously, that's to do with the defense as well. But we had a rhythm of how we defended set pieces, and I was never really as worried last year about corners. And now all of a sudden we're going through that sticky patch. Like it can't have all been Matt Sells bad last season and the defenders good. There must have been a system we had, or a zonal marking or something, because now we've just kind of fallen apart, and I don't really understand it.
Well, I think we were good for the majority of the season, but I looked at the last 10 games and our XG conceded from set plays was as bad as Angie's Tottenham, because so we were poor over the last 10 games, and I think that comes of the opponent starting to look at how you defend and then countering that, and we didn't react. So we obviously trained defending set plays early on in the season. It worked, and then teams started to work us out from set plays. People said they worked us out in other ways as well, but that clearly was the case because we started to concede chances from set plays last 10 games, basically.
Yeah, right. And this is an area where Dyche is going to earn his money, I think, because we can't keep conceding them at this volume, obviously. So he's going to have to address that. And this is where people with better tactical brains and better set-piece brains than I've got will come in and hopefully earn their money, certainly, I would imagine. Just before we talk about the second goal, 550 people with us, which is great. Appreciate that. Word for the Trent navigation. Saturday's game, after the match against Man United, there's a show from the Fun Boy 2. So if you're going to the match, head back to the nav to enjoy that one. And as we've been saying, if you go to the nav to watch the Graz game, if you get there before 5:30 p.m, you've got a chance for a free pint of Madri. Pizzas are £10, so they're on offer as well. So head down to the nav to watch that one. And any televised game, you can watch it on the big screen. No need to book. Just head down and enjoy the action from there. Second goal, Chris, you've seen it back a few times. I mean, it feels like an absolute catalogue of errors for me. It's a good hit, but what was your read on it?
Mix up in the middle of the park between Louise and Anderson, basically almost tackling each other, and then Anderson takes down, I think it's Adams, and Krupe Jr. just, is that his name, Krupe Jr.? He just runs through the middle. We step off him, and he bangs it bottom left. It's a great finish, to be fair, but it's just a very typical Forest goal. That just so typical. Two lads in the middle losing out, and them playing on and playing advantage after Anderson tried to take him down. I wish they did get the free kick now. And it was just an absolute nightmare. And that was it. I think most of us looked at that and went, "There's no way back from here." Even though there's a good chunk of the game left, you're looking at that. You're looking at this Bournemouth team, and you're thinking, need a bit of a miracle to get back into this game. Horrible. And that midfield battle that we talked about at the beginning, at the top of the show, I'm fuming that we have players as talented as Anderson, Louise and Gibbs-White, and all three of them just kept losing their battles. Like I said at the top, Louise was good early on, but that was the sort of icing on the cake. It just looked like Scott, Adams, Tavernier, they all had their number the whole way through the game. They won individual battles early in the game, gave themselves confidence and said, we're better than these. And then that was kind of the final straw for me. Louis and Ando, the mix up and them scoring, I was kind of like, oh gosh, is Gibbs-White going to have another bad game? And of course he kind of did. So yeah, bad goal to concede, and there was just no way back from there.
Yeah, we'll talk about Gibbs-White a bit more. I can see him in the chat, and I've got a section on that. I mean, Anderson's an unbelievable player, and he's entitled to a bad game. And I think he did probably his worst game in a Forest shirt today. I felt, but if anyone's allowed a bad game, it's him. But even his passing was off. We'll talk about set pieces as well. They were terrible. The other thing about the goal, as you mentioned there, Chris, there's no one running in behind us that I could see. So I don't understand why Milenkovic and Murillo are both backing off. Milenkovic was sort of jogging. I mean, those are the things last season, Mark, that we weren't doing, aren't they?
Well, we did do it. We did it for the Clivert goal exactly Bournemouth last season.
Oh, well,
Murillo was backing off in that one as well.
Yeah, more generally.
I mean, I think Milenkovic has got to engage there because he's got Murillo behind him. So one of them has got to come out. Normally it's Murillo who does that. And I guess Milenkovic found himself the one furthest forward, and that isn't his role. His role is to be the one behind, and Murillo normally is the one that engages. I don't know whether that disrupted things, but yeah, we've got to get to him. We've got to close him down. And they've got quality. At the Premier League level, the players, you can't allow them a free shot on goal from 25 yards because it will be on target. And it was such that Sells couldn't get to it. The two defenders there got to be blamed. I guess we lost the duel in midfield with Lewis and Anderson as well. But yeah, it's just errors basically, and it's not good enough, and we've got to correct that. Bournemouth are a good side and they've got good players, but there's a lot of good teams and a lot of good players that we come up against, right? So against any opponent, you can't defend that way.
No, I didn't think Selge could have saved it, but I have just quickly. There's some people online saying that no one's anyone could lose their shirt, including Selge. A few people actually saying he should be dropped. Would you go that far, either of you, and put John Victor in goal or Angus Gunn? I mean, I wouldn't, but would either of you?
I mean, we saw John Victor wasn't a mastermind against Swansea, right? I know it's only one game, but I'd be a little bit worried. But if you want to give him a shot, fine. Angus Gunn, I don't know. I mean, when was the last time he played a Premier League game? I think he's a good third keeper for us. He's not droppable, of course. If Sells is having howlers left, right, and centre, he's not droppable. But for me right now, probably not. I'd probably keep playing him.
He's amazing, if John Victor's amazing in training and Dyche sees it, then fair enough. No problem at all. But for me, I wouldn't be changing keeper. What about you, Mark?
No, I don't. I think you just got to put it right. You've got to get his confidence back, and you've got to improve the defending in front of him. We've got to solve that issue on corners because he's not strong enough or he's not commanding enough. But Dyche should be able to address that with him. So, I don't expect to see that in the next game because it's an easy thing to fix. You don't need time in the training ground to fix that. You just sit him down and you go, we're either going to protect you or you need to do better at that situation. Which is it? So we'll protect you. We'll put a player in front of you. But yeah, it's easily resolved that, I think. And I don't think Sells' shot stopping is an issue. If I, obviously the Chelsea free kick, we know he's suspect to them. It's like the Ivan Toney free kick all over again, isn't it? Where it shifted and it went. There was one at Brighton last season, I think, where we asked questions of Sells whether or not he should have got to it. I think it was a Welbeck free kick, wasn't it? So I think in those situations, that's another weakness of Sells. I don't think free kicks coming around the wall. He's sometimes been found out on those. So I think it's too soon to be talking that way. But he's starting to use up his lies. That's for sure. Yeah,
I think that's a fair assessment. I think so. Half-time changes, 3 of them: Taiwo, Yates, Hutchinson on, Hudson-Odoi, Igor Jesus, Douglas Luiz off. Could have made more changes. Those are the ones he made. Did you see an improvement, Chris, in the second half? And if so, to what degree?
I think Taiwo was okay. I think he was decent, to be honest. I think he brought the ball down well. He had a couple of moments where he laid it off down the right channel for Hutchinson. A couple of moments where he skipped on the outside on the left and held onto the ball. 2 or 3 players around him, turned back, created stuff. Had a shot with his left foot at one point. I thought Taiwo was decent, if I'm honest. I think he's the one player today that can kind of hold his head high. Maybe Savona a little bit, Williams as well. But I think Taiwo, I thought that substitution did make a difference. I was surprised by them because in my head I'm going, is this a bit of a panic button stuff? Taiwo, Yates, Hutchinson coming on. 3 straight away, but look, I think it made a difference for sure. Even though Bournemouth, like I said, they were sort of playing with the handbrake on that second half for most of it. But I think Taiwo made a difference. I think Hutchinson was decent as well. It's a couple of nice moments. Obviously, that back heel to Gibbs-White for that effort that we'll probably talk about as well. I thought Hutchinson had a couple of really bright moments. I think he's pushing for a start, if I'm honest, because I look at Ndoye and I'm really disappointed. I really am disappointed. I think he slows the game down. I know he's a bit more physical defensively, but I haven't seen enough of it from him. So I think Hutchinson's pushing for a start, but Taiwo made a bit of a big difference. I think Yates, not much of a difference. I mean, a bit of a passenger today, to be honest, but I think the Taiwo sub was definitely the big one.
Yeah, I thought Bournemouth went from 6th gear to 3rd gear and did a very good professional job and preserved their energy for the next game, which is Man City, which I won't be surprised if they win because City lost again today, I think. But what do you make of our second half in general, Mark?
Yeah, better, but how much of that is, like you say, Bournemouth just managing it out? They're not going to. They're 2-0 up. They've done their job, so they're going to manage, aren't they? And then break on us. So it was going to be a different second half from them as well. I think we were better. We did compete. There was a little bit of urgency in the first 15, 20 minutes, but we didn't create enough. I think Hutchinson, a few bright moments, and I think he does deserve a start because, for me, Ndoye looks like someone who's more likely to take a chance than create a chance. That's the problem, and that's not what we need. We need supply from out wide, and for me, he's not giving enough of that. He's not getting enough good quality crosses in. He's not beating his man enough. So for me, you've got to preserve Callum because you need him for the Premier League games. play Ndoye in Europe, and I think you start Hutchinson and Callum in the league, because I think Hutchinson's now, that's 2 sub appearances where he's come on and he's looked like more in terms of creative spark than we've had on the pitch to start the game. So I think he deserves a Premier League start now.
Yeah, It was just a point in the chat, Mark, that I'll put to you, and I'll try and find one of them. But a few people saying we spent all this money, 200 million quid, and we're playing Taiwo. Do you think that's a fair? There you go. I mean, I don't think that's a fair barometer to judge Taiwo by, particularly. Really, is it?
No, I mean, I think obviously Calamondo, when we've seen him, doesn't look like he's ready yet, and he needs time. And I think that's fair enough to try and come in from the French league and say lead the line in the Premier League. Very, very tough. He's not the same kind of player as a Chris Wood or a Jesus or an Awani. He's not got that, that size, that imposing size to hold off defenders. He's more a second striker. So it's not on him that we went and bought him. Maybe he doesn't fit the way we want to play, but I can see why Awani got the nod over him to come on. Yeah, I mean, for me, we're not getting enough from those new players, but we've got to give them more time, because some of them, like Ndoye, are adjusting to the Premier League. And so we've got to be patient. We knew this, right? We knew that when we sold Elanga, whoever came in, unless we were getting a proven Premier League performer, was going to take time to adjust and probably in their first season get nowhere near Elanga's output, 17 goal involvements. Ndoye's not going to get near that. He'll probably end up with less than 10. So we've got to find it from somewhere else. The problem is we're not finding it from somewhere else because we're asking Callum to play Thursday and Sunday. We can't do that because Callum's probably one where we could get a little bit more out of. Gibbs-White, we haven't got to. We certainly need more from him. But, the goals and assists, where are they coming from? They're not coming from our centre forwards because Awani, Jesus and Wood all need supply. And right now we're not giving them any supply. There's nothing coming from Gibbs-White and there's nothing coming from out wide. So it's not great. I'm worried about our creativity and our goal threat. And unfortunately, when you look at Sean Dyche, he's not renowned for producing sides who are vibrant in terms of goal threat and creating chances. So, yes, okay, we can firm up defensively, but I think the big concern for me is how do we get more out of the players at the top end of the pitch?
Well, a lot of our creativity historically, as you said often, Mark, comes from the captain. More Gibbs-White. I mean, we can't gloss over the fact that he was pretty awful today, Chris, I think, to be fair. I've got a map here from Will, WT Analysis, that I'll put on screen. This is Morgan. We could talk about a lot of players who have bad games, but Morgan is the hub of our attack in theory. The red lines on the screen here, for people who are listening or watching, I think there's 9 of them. That's incomplete passes. He gave the ball away a lot today. He played an absolutely honking pass that Bournemouth could have scored from. I mean, I'm not averse. I think he'll play against Man United, but I'm actually not averse to leaving him out. The question is, who do you put in that's going to create chances and do better, I guess? Well, where are you at on Morgan, Chris?
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely adore him, but that's possibly because of, the first 2 or 3 seasons with us. But I have to be realistic about where he's at now. He's been really poor, very under par, more poor than we could have even imagined, I think. Usually if he has a bad game, the next game he turns it around. It's consistently poor. And when you're consistently poor and you're playing number 10 and you're arguably meant to be our most creative player, there has to come a point where you have to come up with a backup plan or switch it up. Even if that means dropping in a more defensive 10 and making a 3-man midfield. I don't care. McAtee was out of the squad today. I don't know what that was about. Was he injured? I don't know. Hutchinson can play the 10. I would be okay with dropping him against Man United, to be honest. I'd be okay with that. It just depends on who comes in. And right now, no one's pulling up trees. It's not just him, but for our player who's meant to be kind of our leader and the go-to man, it's just consistent. And it's the stuff that he never, we'd see the odd misplaced pass when he tried stuff last season or the season before. And we kind of go, yeah, but then he gives us this and he creates something so wonderful, like that first ball for Ndoye's header in day 1 of the season. And you go, well, that's why he's there, because he'll create a big chance. And I don't know what it is. It's just not clicking for him at the moment. So, yeah, for me, he's close. He's close to getting dropped for sure. It's just, do we have any options coming in? And I don't know that we do. That's the big problem.
Yeah, because I mean, his touch map was on the screen as well. He was advanced, and by average position, he was our most advanced player on the pitch for a lot of the time. So he's been given a license and a freedom to be our creative hub. But I suppose, Mark, the question is, you drop him, who's actually going to create? Is there anyone who's going to come in when McAtee's not even in the squad today? Is that as much of an issue as whatever Morgan's doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think McAtee, we've got to look at giving him a chance at some point. And for me, Gibbs-White, for me, doesn't offer enough goal threat anyway. Even when he's at the top of his game, he's not a good finisher. He's not someone who can get beyond Wood and get in the box and convert, for me. I think McAtee's a stronger player in terms of his finishing and his ability to play off a striker. I think it's not working in the 10. He's not creating enough in the 10, and he doesn't have enough goal for it anyway. So I think we've got to change it. Whether he goes out the team altogether, I don't know. But we've got to find another way of getting something from Gibbs-White. I think he is a good player. There's no question. He should be giving us more. Whether he drops out the 11 or we find another role for him in that team and we bring McAtee in. But I want to see McAtee given an opportunity in the 10 because I think he can bring us something. Like I say, I think he's got a definite goal threat. If you look at his data over the past few seasons, when he's in a team, he takes lots of shots and he can score goals. Gibbs-White doesn't give us that. So personally, I would look to see if we can move. I mean, it's not great. He's not been great out wide, but if he stays in the 11, I don't think I want to see him in the 10 for much longer because it's just not working. It hasn't worked all season and he's not given us enough. So I think there's got to be a change, whether that's dropping him, but I'd like to see somebody else given an opportunity to be in that 10, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually play him out wide and play Hutchinson centrally. Hutchinson has played 50% of his games there. I don't think that would happen, but you could be a more fluid attack. Thank you very much to Richard Hesketh. Appreciate being a member and anyone else who signed up. Let's put Dan's column up. Manage jobs, get more out of him, not drop him. A reason he's in the England team. I actually think he's incredibly fortunate to be in the England squad right now. I'm really surprised that he is in there. I mean, Jude Bellingham's not in it, so I don't know if he's going to be in it for long. Only last season we were outraged that he wasn't getting the England squad. I mean, he was actually playing slightly better than Dan when I was outraged that he wasn't in the England squad. But is it Dyche's job to get more out of him and not drop him, do you think, Chris?
No, he has to do it by himself. He's a good enough player. He's got the mental fortitude. I think I love him to bits. I talk about him all the time, and I go on and on and on about those great moments that he creates over the last 3 or 4 seasons with us. The last 3 seasons, I love him, but he's got to do it all himself, and he'll know that. He'll know that. He's the kind of player that backs himself in these situations. So, yeah, it's not down to the coach to get more out of him. He's been through 3 coaches this season already, and he's been poor for all of them. Pretty much. So I think it's down to him. When he has the ball and he has free space in front of the men today, for example, if that was a Bournemouth player, you'd expect them to make the right pass or make a decision to create something. Even Alex Scott or whoever for Bournemouth, they were creating every chance they had when they were getting forward in that final third. Gibbs-White's not doing that. When he gets the ball, he's making the wrong choice. He's slowing the game down. He's trying to turn out of trouble. He's getting caught on the ball. He knows himself. It's down to him. It's all down to him. And he's going to need to do something about it. And I think it's in his head a little bit, to be honest.
Last season, he was creating a chance. By this stage, he'd create a chance every 42 minutes. So far this season, it's every 81 minutes. So his chance creation has halved. So, and that's with a long period. Well, with a period under Ange Postecoglou where we've had more possession than any other team in the Premier League. So that's a worry, isn't it? That points to, if he's halved his creativity, that's going to be a major problem for us when you also take Elanga out. And
he's not a goal scorer. So
no,
that is his chance creativity is his thing. Talking of chance creativity, we know we came into this is a stat that's been thrown around a lot, but 40% of Dyche's goals come from set pieces. And our set piece delivery stay mark was absolutely abysmal. Some of it was like non-league stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the real concern. As I said, we've scored 2 goals since the second game week. So in 8 games, we've scored 2 goals. So very few goals scored. And if 40% of our goals are going to come from set pieces, as they have done under Dyche's team before, we're going to have to make a massive improvement. He simply cannot rely on us to be scoring 40% of our goals from set plays. We're going to have to do more from open play because at the moment, we look short of any kind of ideas in there. Yeah, Dyche has only had a week, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But White, he's got a lot of work to do on that front. It's not like he's got a lot of raw material there. He's Douglas Luiz can deliver a set piece. Milinkovic should be able to win a header. So we've got people there who can do more with it. We just need to give Dyche time, but he's got his work cut out, that's for sure. And I don't really think we can rely on scoring 40% of our goals from set plays. I don't see us going from where we are now to that kind of return. So, yeah, that worries me a bit.
Yeah, I just have Douglas Luiz on set pieces or a run of games to see if he can do it. I think he only took one stage. We didn't really create first half, but he would be the one for me. Right, let's take a word because we'll talk about the bigger picture now. In fact, we'll do man of the match after this quick break. So have a quick think about man of the match, then we'll talk about big picture. Thank you very much, Nottingham Window Company, second sponsors of these weekend post-match shows. If you're looking for new windows or doors at the moment, do check out the link in the description, see what they've got to offer and see if they are the people for you. Obviously, they're people for me because they did all my windows in my house, so I will vouch for them. Right, just before we talk big picture then, just quickly, man of the match or any contenders, anyone that came out of it in credit for you today, Chris?
Nico Williams, probably, a couple of good moments. He seemed defensively sound. He's been switching back and forth from right to left back all season with all the changes. I thought he was very good today. Worked hard, worked his socks off. Not very good. He was just decent, and that's enough to get man of the match today. Other than that, I thought Taiwo did really well off the bench, if I'm honest. I think he did decent. So it's between Taiwo and Nico Williams for me.
Mark, go on.
I think a word for Savona. We were worried about him, but he wasn't exposed too often, was he? I think he's up against a red hot player in Semenyo. I think Ndoye sacrificed some of his attacking intent to help support where he could as well, maybe. But I think Savona deserves a mention. But like always, when we put in a kind of poor performance, there's always one player who is so consistent and therefore stands out, and that is Nico Williams. Chris is absolutely right, because he never falls below a 7. He didn't fall below a 7 today. He was good enough to win man of the match for me.
Let's put this on screen quickly, just from James before we move on. Why don't you discuss the formation rather than individuals? Do you think 2 wingers and a number 10 away at Bournemouth was the right call? I mean, we did discuss in the preview that we thought he might well play Dominguez or Gibbs-White out wide to double up on Semenyo. So, no, I do think it was an error. I think that's fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, he trusted Gibbs-White to be the creative force and it wasn't. But, yeah, we did get outrun in midfield. Did Bournemouth play 3 in midfield? I didn't even watch them closely enough. Who was there? Cliver in the first half, wasn't it? But he was very advanced. I mean, it was Scott and Adams really that ran the game, didn't they?
Yeah, it's Cliver, Semenyo, Tavernier, Scott and Adams basically in the middle, wasn't it? And Tavernier was fantastic, wasn't he?
Tavernier was, he was switching kind of out a little bit as well. But yeah,
but they had a 2-man midfield, didn't they?
Yeah. In terms of Scott and Adams was the 2-man midfield, and Clivert was more advanced. Tavernier was slightly more advanced as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they did as well. But I think their midfield just battered our midfield, and our midfielders meant to be top class players. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. Well, they played on Thursday. That's what happened there. That doesn't help, does it? So
I don't think it's just that, but yeah.
No, it's not just that. But when you go to Bournemouth and you're up against that level of energy, which we knew, asking the same 3 to play again on Sunday after Thursday when they played, all but one of them played 90 minutes, I thought that was a bad idea myself. So, Kelv said he's surprised Luiz played. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we'd have won the battles even if we hadn't played Thursday, to be fair, Chris. But I do think that doesn't help.
Yeah, I think we should have played Morgan out wide, doubled up on Semenyo, and then brought Yates into the team and then played an extra man. Yeah, I agree. I think James is right. But we did still lose to a 2-man midfield. The thing about Bournemouth is they are so intense. There was a bit where we lost the ball, where we won the ball back, and we had 6 or 7 men around one player. And I think that is if Bournemouth get into Europe, I don't think they can do that in future unless they get a much bigger squad. But we just lost battles all over the pitch regardless.
I think it was Iriola said in one of the pre-match press conferences a couple of weeks ago. He said, "I just want to come out the blocks and blow them away." So that's his strategy, is I want to come out the blocks and absolutely blow teams away. And they did that against Palace there last week, nearly won the game. And you just knew they were going to do it again today. And we should be ready for that. Like, we should know that they're going to come out with serious intensity, and we should have a strategy to counteract that. And we just didn't. And we didn't handle it. We couldn't manage it. And they just absolutely swarmed us. And within 20 minutes, even before it was sort of like 1-0, I was panicking. I was like, Jesus, they've come out the blocks. But I thought they might, if we could keep it to 0-0 or 1-0 by 60 minutes. I said to you, Matt, maybe their intensity will drop. But I don't know. Yeah, that's the plan, I suppose, for them. And our formation, maybe it was a James who put it up on the screen. Maybe he's right. Maybe we needed to plan for that better.
Yeah, I think so. Martin, not slandering individuals. That's not what slandering means. And we're just discussing individual players, and we're definitely not bullshitting them. Right. Let's talk about the bigger picture then. And so we discussed today, and for me, today was really bad, but it's not going to define our season. I really can't believe today's going to define our season. So let's talk about where we're at and where these chaps think we're at. This is the league table as it stands. Everton are 14th. They're currently losing 1-0 to Spurs, and a player, Chris, who we're very happy to hear has scored in Mickey van der Ven as we record. So that's the league table. We're on 5 points. Everton are 14th on 11. Leeds also got 11. I mean, for me, if we can finish top of that mini league, it's fantastic, because we're in a hole, but I've still got faith that we'll be okay. And I'll expand on that gladly. But Mark, how do you feel?
I'm worried. I'm very worried, because I think that teams above us they're picking up points and they've got a degree of confidence. So we've got to get 4 points at the next two. Like you say, they're 2 home games. We absolutely got to beat Leeds. We cannot afford to let them get away from us. Fulham have got Wolves next, so I think I see Fulham picking up the win there. I really do. I think Wolves are so poor that. So if we don't beat Manchester United, which I don't think that's a big if, because United have just won 3 in a spin and they look a threat and they've got players that can hurt us. So that's a very tough game. I'd certainly wouldn't turn my nose up at a point there, but if we get a point there and Fulham win, we're 5 points adrift to them as well. So yeah, it's all very well saying we've got the quality to get out of this, but none of those teams down there are playing Thursday, Sunday. So that it has got to be a factor. We've seen it a factor with Spurs and Manchester United last season. We've got a squad to get out of this, but we've got to manage that squad very, very carefully, and we've got to prioritise. And for me, we've got to start prioritising the Premier League and start prioritising getting points, because the teams above us, they're no mugs. Leeds, Everton, Burnley, on paper we're better and we should finish above them, but we've got work to do. That's for sure. No trouble, no issue in that. So I'm worried. I'm absolutely worried, because I'm worried about the goal threat now. Even if we defend better and we start keeping clean sheets, we've got to start scoring goals. And there's a big concern if you start looking at the numbers.
What about you, Chris?
I'll start with the negatives and the concern as well. I'll give you the concern pitch. So, I mean, 1 goal in 7 Premier League games. Everyone's seen that stat thrown around. That's scary as hell. 5 points clear of Burnley now. They're clear of us. 5 points clear of us. They're picking up wins here, there, and everywhere. Sunderland are probably safe already, if I'm honest with you. I mean, they've won 5 games, and I think you need to get to about 10 or 11 in a good season where there's teams competing around that area. You need to get about 11 wins minimum. Some seasons you can have 9 or 10. We're on 1 at the moment. And then in terms of just the way things look at the moment, last week we played Chelsea. We had a chance this first half. We lost 3-0. That was a worse team than the one that played Sunderland yesterday. Sunderland went there and won it. Brentford are going to be fine as well under Keith Andrews. Actually, that's the only prediction that I got right at the start of the season, probably because he's Irish. But it's just not good. We're in trouble. We are in a battle. We're over a quarter of the way through the season now, and we are in a battle. And next week is going to be really difficult against Man United. They'll be favourites. Leeds is going to be, it is going to be 50-50. It is going to be a 50-50 game unless we pull our socks up. So that's the concern. I think we're in a real battle. I am very worried about it. We've got Europe to contend with on top of that. And, that is the biggest concern for me. And I do think we're in a battle. And it's really, really frustrating, because I personally believe, most people might not believe this is the case, but I personally believe that one hire with Ange has put us in this hole. The last time I was on was after the Sunderland game, and I was really, really upset and really angry. And the reason why I was angry was because I knew that the Burnley and the Sunderland games were big chances to get points on the board, coming into a run of really tough fixtures with a team that was heading for low confidence. And what's happened? The next 3 games, we've all lost to 0. So I'm angry. I'm upset. I think it's down to Ange Postecoglou, and it's down to the hiring of Ange Postecoglou. I think that's why we're here. And I think everyone's aware of that. But we now need to look at what the positives are and what we can get out of this, and can we get back. And the way we can get back and build back is to recognize there is talent in the squad. A lot of this squad finished 7th last season, and they are capable of getting out of this. They are capable. Just need to put a run together. We need to just pull our socks up. The big players need to step up now. Gibbs-White needs to step up big time or be dropped. Anderson needs to step back up into the plate. Murillo needs to step up. All these players, Sells, if we can get the performances out of them, we'll get the results. And hopefully by January, February, things will be looking a bit rosier, because we do have the squad to survive. And we've been here before. We've been in worse situations with point deduction. So the positive is the players are there, and Sean Dyche is a firefighter. And I suppose that's why we kind of brought him in. So yeah, I'm worried, but I do believe in this team still, even though it's hard to today.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, we're in a big hole. Teams that have 3 managers in a season don't have good seasons. And I think if we can finish top of this mini league, then I think Dyche will have done an excellent job. I think this table is going to look grim until about 20 games or more played, and people are going to have to strap in for that, because it's going to take a lot of work to turn it around. I think it will happen over time. Over the course of 31 games, I think Dyche will do enough that we're okay, because I think he'll organise them enough to stop leaking these awful goals. Hopefully, and I do think we'll score enough goals, but the 1-0, the 2-0, it's going to be like that, and I think it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a battle, but I do believe that we've got enough to finish above certainly Wolves and West Ham, and I do think we've got more than Burnley and Leeds over the course of 38 games. If we finish any higher than that, I don't know, but and I do think we could get relegated, but I don't think we will. And I think Bournemouth are a really good side. They'll beat teams comfortably, and they're much better than us right now. So
You've muted yourself there, Matt, I think.
Got a bad mic. I need to fix it. It's shit.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. You just muted yourself. You were in the middle of the crescendo there. Go for it.
Over the course of 38 games, we'll be okay, but it's going to be not much fun, I'd imagine, is my feeling on it. And, Bournemouth won't define our season. The next 2 games will tell us how bad the battle is. I think if we get 4 points, Mark, will we be feeling more optimistic? And obviously if we get 6 points, we definitely will.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd be very happy with 4 points. Can I see us getting 4 points at the moment? I think it's tough. Right? I don't think Leeds are going to be an easy opponent at all. They're going to come and defend, and they've defended pretty well. So I don't see us losing to Leeds, but a point isn't going to be enough. We need to start gaining ground on them. So, yeah, we've got to give Dyche more time. I do worry that he's not a manager who's mercurial in terms of getting creativity and goals out of a team. And our players, where we normally turn to help with that, are not doing it at the moment. And so, for me, you've got to play Callum in the Premier League, rest him. You've got to try and get a tune out of Gibbs-White. Maybe that's not in the 10. I think you've got to give McAtee an opportunity, because I think he can offer something, but at the moment he's not getting a look in or anywhere near the squad. Maybe there's a reason for that. We've got to start using that squad, and that means rotating and playing a weaker side in Europe and preserving our main full strength 11 for the Premier League. Surely that's why Dyche was brought in. If Dyche was brought in and was told, we expect you to go deep into the Europa League and mid-table, that's not realistic, because we are in trouble. And that table to me spells, right, kick the Premier League in the Europa League into touch, focus on this, because all those other teams around us will be looking at that going, well, Forest, they might go because they've got Europe. That's what they'll be thinking. So we've got to address that. We've got to change our expectations there. Yes, Thursday night was magical. It was great to get the win over Porto, but from now on, we need to think about this and this league table, because that's the priority.
Man U's a really big game, isn't it, Chris? Because we've got a full week of training now. And I mean, I know Man U won 3 in a row. I watched that game against Brighton, and I've seen it. And then Mark, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a table of defenses going around, and Man U were ranked 19th on it. I think it was, XG ranked by opponents or something like that. You can, if we can't create anything v Man United, I'll be really worried, because they are actually still quite an open team. They're an improving team, and they're really dangerous going forwards with Mbeumo and Cunha are top players. So it feels like this is a really big week for Dyche now, isn't it? To try and do his work on the training ground. And will this Man U game tell us much more than a Bournemouth game?
A little bit. I think the reality is when they signed those players, Mbemo, Sesko, Cunha, I think we all thought, at least two or the three of them was going to work out because they're both proven in the Premier League. And I think, a lot of my mates are all Man United fans and they're quite buoyant by the last of the 3 games. I think they were a little lucky to beat Liverpool at the end. But I think that, winning breeds confidence and they'll come into this game incredibly confident. The Bruno Fernandes as well. And I think the problem with us is we're not, we just scored 2 penalties on Thursday, but prior to that, we're not scoring goals. So I don't know if it tells us much more. I think the Leeds game tells us more than anything because we even in the melee and the issues we have, even though I would say it's almost a 50-50 game, I still think we should beat Leeds at home. Not saying we will, but I think we should. But Man United are now going to come into form. They don't have Europe. They're out of the League Cup as well. Their focus is purely on the league. So they'll be coming for blood. So I think that's going to be a really tough game. It is a really important game for us. It's one of those ones where if we win it, apart from the fact that I absolutely despise Man United, if we win it, it's going to be really big for Forest because it could then suddenly say, right, hang on, we can cause a little bit of an upset here. We're still waiting for that little upset game that we can cause because we're going to need a couple of them this season. We can't just rely on beating some of the teams around us. We're actually going to need to do a bit more than that. So it is a big game. It's a big game for us. And it's Dyche a whole week without Europe to try and plan for it. I would go in ultra defensive and just sit back and just let them come onto us and try and break in the counter.
Mark, anything from you? Final thoughts before we go?
No, I think we've got to give Dyche more time. He's only had a week. We've got to be fair to him. So I'm not ringing alarm bells yet. But the next 2 home games, we'll expect to see improvements. We'll expect to see a method of us taking the game to opponents and being able to score goals because it's not enough just to defend and trying to keep clean sheets. We've got to win games where we are now. A point against Leeds won't be enough. So we've got to find a way of winning one of the next 2 at home, hopefully getting 4 points, maybe even getting 6. We've got to get those points on the board now. And that, like I said, that means changing our expectations for Europa League, prioritising the Premier League, protecting our best players for that and getting more from those players. I think Dyche can do it. I hope Dyche can do it. And I hope over the next few weeks we'll start to see it. It's too soon to ring alarm bells just yet, but we're right to be concerned because look at that league table, look at the data. I think we've conceded more shots on target than any other team. We've only scored 2 goals in the last 8 games. That's relegation form. We've also made more errors that lead to chances or lead to goals than any other team. So all the data says we're a bottom 3 side at the moment. Dyche has got to turn that around. I think he can. I think we've got the players to do it, but we need to start seeing it now.
Yeah, I think so. We are in a battle, no doubt about that. But disagree with Dan on one comment. I'll put this one up. 87 points to play for. Nothing stays the same for long in football. Burnley and Leeds will start struggling. I do think Burnley in particular will. 1 game at a time was the mantra last season. I've talked about that a lot. Abandoning that was a real error. So let's get back to that. Chris, any final thoughts from you before we go?
Just that, look, we've been here before, and this is the problem as fans is we remember that first season. It was such a stressful battle, and then the second season was more of a horrible, stressful battle because you had the points deduction looming and everything. And it's just being in this sort of relegation dogfight all of a sudden, it really can bring you down. But ultimately, that Thursday day, it was a good day. That beating Porto when they were undefeated and we weren't expected to do it was a good moment. And there will be more of those this season. I'm sure of it, regardless of the fact that, I'm fully down and out about the league at the moment. There will be more. And if we can get through this tough spell, Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Man United, all those games in a row is difficult. Doesn't matter if it's the Man United of last season or the Chelsea the season before. All those games against each other are very, 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 very tricky. So we just need to get through this and then try and pick up points and we'll be okay. And don't get too down about it because, we'll always have another go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Right, we are back tomorrow, 11 a.m. with Temps and Gary. We'll go through all the game and probably have the same sort of chat, to be honest, but get a different perspective on it. So do join us for that. And then through the week, we should have Henry Winter is the main guest on Wednesday. So join us for that as well. And lots of other stuff on the way. I think you're back on Tuesday, Mark. That's the plan. We'll do some listener questions on Tuesday with Mark. So I'll put an appeal out for that as we go. In the meantime, Mark Sutherns, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Chris. Hopefully very soon we'll be on a post-match, Chris, where we get some points. I'm sure that's not far away.
Hopefully so. Chris Aylmer, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Yeah, thanks again, Mark, as well. It's funny. I sometimes wonder. Imagine all the clips of the different games you, me, and Matt have been on, because I've been on with you a lot. Some of them we've been on some absolutely woeful end of Luton games, and then on some unbelievable like wins against Liverpool or whoever. So yeah, it's a real roller coaster, but I'm sure we'll be fine in the end.
For a routine 1-0 win, we'll take that. We next?
It's all I ever dream of is a 1-0 win and a penalty. That's it. But yeah, thanks very much, and yeah, look, hopefully these post matches will improve, as you said.
Hopefully so. It is tough being a Forest fan when you, as Chris said, have all these hopes and expectations. We're going into Europe, all the money spent, and then we're back in the same situation we were for 2 years after getting promoted. It's a test of your individual mettle, certainly, to go through it all again. So I appreciate 600 people being with us throughout. Do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe, consider a membership or Patreon or a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It would be great. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.